Welcome to the Scotty P podcast. I have today Nonso Ebede. I think you go by Zoe.
Yeah.
Man, I've been fortunate enough to train at your academy. We've rolled a couple times, and it's always a war. I have to do my best to get to your legs, or otherwise you smash me into the dirt. But man, thank you for thank you for coming on the podcast. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, man, just go ahead and let me and the audience know kind of how you started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to say thank you for having me on. And yeah, how I started. For me, the story is funny, right? Like I grew up on Jackie Chan movies, right? I grew up on all sorts of martial arts movies, all like Snake and the Monkey Shadow or Ninja Assassin, all that stuff. Like, I loved martial arts movies growing up.
Cool.
Took a bit of Taekwondo when I was a kid. So I stay in Spring, and this Jiu Jitsu school opens up outside my neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, it's martial arts. I'm going to check it out. I'm definitely going to go. So I go in, and I don't know what Jiu Jitsu is, by the way. I have no clue. So I go in there, meet the head coach, Professor Eddie Avalar. He kind of welcomes me and starts talking about jiu-jitsu, and I do a couple of rolls, meet some of the guys over there. And that day, the first time I walked in, we had two huge dudes. They may not remember, but it was Pat Sturgeon, and I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but Black Spider-Man. Most people know who I'm talking about. But yeah, so I meet those two guys. They basically kicked my butt that first day, right? So I leave. I don't come back for a year. And, I just chalked it up to, okay, I didn't know anything. And that's why I got my butt handed to me. So I didn't come back for a year. So I came back. After a year, I come back. Eddie remembers me, which Eddie's great at. He always, he's got a great memory. So Eddie remembers me. He's like, hey, man, welcome back. Gets me on the mats again. And this time it's another guy named Albert, right? Another big guy. So Albert has me in Keisagatami while he's having a conversation with somebody else. And I can't get out of Keisagatami, right? And at this point, dude, I played a lot of basketball and I was at the gym a lot. So I was lifting heavy and I was bigger size than I am now. So Albert has me in Keisagatami and he's having a conversation with another guy. And I'm like, this is crazy, right? So we get done with that session. I don't come back for another year.
Oh, dang.
Dude, yes, right? I don't come back for another year. And I just chalked that one up to, again, big guy that knows what he's doing, right? I'll get him whenever I learn.
Yeah.
So I come back in the third time, right? Again, this is a year later. Eddie remembers me again, right? And this time, he puts me with a kid that's about 13 or 14 years old. And I remember when he paired me up with that kid, I remember looking at Eddie and being like, dude, are you sure? Like, I mean, look at my size, right? I'm going to tear this kid apart. And Eddie seems pretty confident in the matchup. So he puts me with the kid's 13 to 14 years old, and the kid locked me in a triangle and nearly put me out.
Dang.
And I'm twice his size, twice his age. And when that happened, I came back the next day.
Dang.
That was the sell for me. I was like,
Right.
if you would have told me that you could have locked me and that kid in a room and I would be the one banging the door, be like, get me out of here, I would have never believed that.
Right.
So it was a shock to the system. It was a shock to, whatever your thoughts of how you viewed that situation, how you would handle yourself in a fight. A lot of us, like I said, I watch martial arts movies. A lot of us watch movies and without any training and feel like in some sort of physical altercation, we know what to do.
Right.
It's almost the same thing as like watching enough basketball and feeling like, yes, I could just get on the court and play with a person who's been training all their life.
Right.
Why would you ever think that?
Right.
So that was such a shock to the system, and that was really when I was like, man, I don't know what I would do in a physical altercation, especially one if the guy took me to the ground.
Right.
So that was my soul.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially experiencing someone much smaller than you have so much control. Not necessarily someone your weight or someone
Yes.
another big guy. That's kind of like, well, yeah, he's a big guy. He knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
That's supposed to happen.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen.
Right.
Yeah, but when a kid did it, I was like, no, that's not supposed to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and like, no, but actually it is. The more you train, you recognize like, yeah, it's not what you're, fighting. It's not necessarily maybe what you're sold on TV in terms of like, hey, we're gonna just get in there, we're gonna stand and bang and do all these things. Like, no, nobody wants to do that. The smarter guy is always looking for better strategies, better positions, better angles, right?
Right. Right.
Where to be more effective.
Right. Yeah. Yes, being more effective. Yeah, you think that it's just going to be chaos, but the better guy, he's gonna figure out the easiest way to win. He's gonna put himself in a safest spot. 100%. You definitely learn that as time gets older.
Yeah.
Man, so yeah, it's so funny how fighting works in that way, right? No one watches football and being like, yeah, I could be a better quarterback than so and so.
Yeah, just by sitting and watching.
Right.
Right.
But that happens with fighting where it's like, yeah, people watch a bunch of movies and our mind is developed to like see forward in time, right? Imagine themselves in these situations. And that's part of why it's so amazing. But there's a huge fault in that, in a sense that reality is never what you imagine it to be.
No.
And so there's just this commonality that people imagine how fights will play out or what they'll do or how it happens. And the truth is that you literally cannot imagine what would happen.
No.
One time I was grappling with one of my buddies. He got drunk and decided to challenge me. He's like, I want to see what this Jiu Jitsu stuff is about. And I was like, all right. And as soon as we tied up, I just like arm dragged him and got to his back.
Yes.
And it was funny. So one, he was drinking, so his reaction time was even slower. But it took him, I want to say 4 to 5 seconds to even realize I was already behind his back choking him. He was just like frozen in this state of like, wait, what is happening?
Yes.
And by the time he like started the struggle, I just let him go and I'm like, I already got you, buddy.
Yeah, it's already done.
It's already
and that's
done.
exactly what happened with the kid's name's Randall. I just remember I couldn't even tell how I got in there trying. Like I couldn't tell. I just remember the kid's legs are locked around my neck, right? Dude, at the time I probably benched 315, 365 or something like that.
Dang.
So I'm in a triangle. And I know for a fact that I'm gonna bust out of this. So like, I was like, there's no way this kid's legs are gonna hold me.
Right.
Skinny legs, probably doesn't squat up to 60 pounds. Whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm here, but I'm like, I'm gonna blow this open.
Yeah.
And I keep going and I keep going, and then he starts to, the breath starts to hit. The room starts to get dark. And then reality sets in. Like, oh, wow. I might die if I don't tap.
Yeah. I might die if I don't tap.
Yeah.
Man, that's real right there. So how long ago was that?
We're talking 10 years ago.
Yeah, so you've been in the game for 10 years.
Been in it 10 years, yeah.
Man, that's so cool too. I can only imagine like Eddie, you said his name was Eddie Alvarez?
Avalar.
Man,
yes.
So I asked you about him because maybe I might get him on the podcast, but I would love to hear his version of the story.
Yeah.
Seeing a kid come back, after a year time off, and then ends up signing up. That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's got a great version of the story as well.
Awesome. And man, and that's a good tip too for me as a coach. If a big guy comes in, don't maybe put him with the big guy first to get him tired, but then get him someone small so it can really set in.
And that's very interesting because you'll get, from my experience, you'll get guys who will come in, and people are sold in different ways, or the experience hits home in different ways. You'll get guys, you'll get a guy who might walk in, and he may experience that. Right, someone who's not supposed to beat him in his mind, defeat him, And their reaction might be, I'm never walking back in there,
Mm,
you know. So you'll get people who will give you different reactions to that.
right.
You get a guy who their reaction they might have lost to the big guy, but they'll be like, okay, I'll go back. So it's very interesting with people what brings them back in, right? Or what makes them to continue the journey, right? For some folks, if their egos hurt too much, it might just be like, hey, I'm just not going to walk back in there, and I'm
Right.
not going to do that again. So it's been very interesting as a coach to kind of observe these things and um, do your best that whoever walks in the door, you want to give them like the best possible experience, but something effective so that, they feel like, okay, this is a place that I can learn something valuable,
Right.
as opposed to them just leaving and being like, okay, either that wasn't effective or that was a little bit too much for me and I'm not coming back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But very interesting way.
It's funny how as a coach you have to like really think about what is the most natural way you can show them jujitsu that makes sense in their mind.
Mhm.
Like our mind works differently. So you might, like I've experienced this before where I was like, well, I want to show them the basics. I want
Yeah.
to show them like a fundamental piece that makes jujitsu strong. So I started out showing one of my buddies like the guard.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did it, I just kind of realized he was like thrown off by the whole thing. He's
Yes.
like, wait, I'm gonna be in between your legs. I don't know what's going on here. And I was like, you know what? Side control. Let's just do side control.
I was just about to say side control is a big one. And
Right.
so I did an event. And in these events, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you're gonna take the mats out there and show people some jujitsu." And I kept thinking to myself, that's awkward. Right? Like when I'm gonna just roll some mats out in the middle of an event and start telling people, "All right, guys, let's do some jujitsu." But what I ended up doing, I ended up taking the mats out there, but I made it to where it was a bit of like a bet against the people at the event.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it was like, hey, listen, I have all these prizes, right? And if any of you could hold me down in this position for 20 seconds or 30 seconds, or even less, like less than 20 seconds, you get this $50 gift card. You get this $100 gift card.
Dude, that is smart.
Yes. And all of a sudden, because I remember hearing stories about, I think it was like the, guys who would go to try to sell jujitsu at events. I used to think it was corny, but man, when I did that, that made a ton of sense. It was like, yeah, just say, you think you're great at grappling or fighting, right? Just all you gotta do is hold me down for 20 seconds, and you get this. Your kid gets this big teddy bear if you can do it.
Yeah.
And then the flip side was that if I can hold you for 20 seconds, 30 or whatever, right? You come do one class.
Oh, snap,
Yeah.
dude.
And that was like,
reverse.
oh, yeah. And then I think we got like 2 people through that. But
that's big.
yeah, I was like, that actually turned out to work out.
Dude, I'm jacking that idea. That is, because that's a safe way,
Yeah.
If doing jujitsu with people who don't know anything can be very risky.
Yes.
Because you have no idea what they're going to do.
Yes.
But yeah, side control, just have them,
all you gotta do is pin me. Pin me for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Super simple.
Right.
$100 gift card right there with your name on it.
Yeah. And guaranteed they ain't holding you down.
No.
Oh, man. That is a genius idea, dude. Oh, man. And so, yeah, you mentioned in the story when you started how a big guy like had you in case of Katami and was just talking.
Yeah.
Man, one of my students is, she's a white belt, but she does like a lot of gun training and stuff. So she's always like, interested in self-defense and making sure that, she doesn't ever get taken advantage of, like that kind of idea. And we also have, do you know Katie Sauger? She trains with me now at Underworld, but she's been around. She's trained at War and Dark Side.
Okay.
Long-time martial artist. And she's only a blue belt, but she's been training for a long time. And she puts Brickell, who's smaller in case of Katami. And Brickell's always asking me, how do I get out of Katie laying on me?
Yeah.
how do I prevent her from laying on me? And, case of Katami is like that
Yeah.
is that position where it's like, man, it's pretty powerful and it just looks like you're just laying on
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though there's a huge technical piece, to it, right?
Yeah.
Case of Gatami, it's like
Yeah.
this whole thing.
I was trying to teach my kids. I was trying to introduce that position to them, and then now, you know, whenever they remember it, they be like, "Hey, coach, when are we gonna do that queso position?"
Yeah, the
Right?
queso
The
position.
queso. I was like, "You mean queso guitar?" So I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, queso something."
Yeah.
Right? I was like, "Okay, guys, it's not cheese." Right?
Yeah. Talking about condiments and guacamole. Oh
Yeah,
man, too
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and when I put my friend in the side control position, he like
Mhm.
completely relaxed. He's like, yeah, and it was, he's like
Yeah.
excited about like trying to,
Yes.
because there it makes a lot more sense.
Mhm, mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I found that it's like, okay, not only what you want to teach someone, especially when they're new, you gotta like kind of
Yes.
not necessarily go to the basics, but find the basics that are gonna make a lot of sense to them in their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Side control is definitely a good one. Mount occasionally can be awkward,
Right.
right? And then, like you said, like a closed guard, if they don't know what's going on,
Hmm.
right? I found like side control is a good one. I found back control to be a good one too.
I like the back control as
Yeah.
well because it's like they can understand why this is the most powerful position. It's like, look,
Yes.
you're behind them. They can't do anything to you while you
Yep.
have all the options.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll start them out. I've had multiple beginner groups and I've started them out in back control and then just showing them the rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Especially when they try to choke at first
Mhm.
and they're like, I don't even understand what to do. And then you show them the rear naked choke and they're
Mhm.
like, oh, because man, you can really
You
feel.
can really get in. Yeah, yeah. You can really feel it. And then I think when you do that, um, it sets off that flag in their mind, like, oh, okay, this is real,
Right.
right? Because up until that moment, like you said, your friends are gonna they're gonna joke around with you, and they're not gonna really see it, right? Even sometimes when you pin them, they'll be like me, or most will be like me. They'll just chalk it up to, I didn't eat breakfast today. I don't feel that good,
Yeah, I didn't eat
you know.
breakfast.
But the moment you set a choke in, that a lot of times for people is like, boom. Oh, they're like, oh wow, okay,
Right.
this just got real.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
kind of wasting them.
Yeah. So you're the head coach of Haven Jiu Jitsu.
Yes,
You've been open for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, man. Yeah, tell me what the experience has been like being a head coach and opening and running your own gym.
Man, the experience has been amazing. I love it. Um, I can't say enough about it. It has its challenges, but like I've told people before, there are challenges that, because I love it so much, I'm willing to take on.
Right, right.
It's been great having students. Um, when I started, one of the biggest fears is like, you know, someone's gonna walk in and then they're not gonna walk back in.
Hmm.
So I'm always happy when people walk back in.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, they they're still interested in wanting to learn what I have to show.
Right.
So it's great having students. It's great being able, when people come in, they want to learn jujitsu and whatever martial art that we offer. So there's a desire there to learn that. So it's been great being able to be in a position to help somebody with something they're trying to do.
Hmm.
Be able to give advice on something, be able to help them make adjustments on that, and then see them improve. And then also see them get to a point where they're helping other people who walk in the door improve as well.
Right.
So that has been very good. It's been especially great. I wouldn't say especially, it's been great with the kids as well. Both kids and adults, you see the growth. Kids have been amazing because you kind of get to see their personalities. And I think with adults, when we're a lot older, there are a couple of things that we're able to hide or mask, you know. But I'll say with a kid, it's, if you just look at a kid long enough, a kid can't lie to you. You'll tell when they're sad. You'll tell when they're defeated. You'll tell when they're discouraged. So it's been very good to see a kid who walks in that's really not that confident, and then is just even a little bit more confident at the least. They are nervous. They get better at that. They're less nervous. They struggle with maybe focus. You're able to work with them on focus. So it's been great to see how this, right? And now and I always tell people, this is just one discipline, right? A lot of things you can do with kids and adults, and it will teach them a lot of those things. But it's been great to be able to have a situation where I can help kids with that as well. Yeah, so that's been really good.
Yeah, your piece on watching someone be able to then help someone else.
Yes.
Man, I got two 15-year-olds, Jaden and Zayden. They're friends. And one of them, Zayden, I'd say he's like lower on the coachable end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I start talking, he wants to go like grab a sip of water, kind of like he's always walking around, always doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And but what I've noticed is that when he gets the opportunity to teach others, like if I get newer people in, or like yesterday he brought his little brother in finally. He's like, I've been trying to get him in here. I finally got him in here.
Yeah.
And the second I give them space to just work the techniques, he's like teaching them. He's like, yeah, now you want to bring your hand here.
Yeah.
And just like seeing his excitement to show his little brother something, I'm like, man, and it's like, there's no way I could coach him into being more coachable, but seeing him coach others will show him how to be a better student.
Yes.
So man, it was just like, it just kind of warmed my heart for a second. It's like, man, even though he he likes to test me, he's 15, and I don't blame him, because I'm the same way. It's like I always want to be different in my own way. And so like he'll do things like he'll wear an ear pod on the mats, and I'm like, I literally recorded it. I'm like, this guy, can't even take his ear pod off while he's rolling. Just little things like that, And so just seeing him kind of go through this transformation of like, being a little more coachable and wanting to show people things has kind of been awesome.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that is like you see the different personalities. Like I have some kids, same thing. The minute I start talking, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
But once I say, all right, guys, 1, 2, 3, break, go work with your partner, boom, locked in, teaching everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And you swear that kid's not listening to you.
Yeah.
Right? But the moment it's time for him or her to teach, they're like, yeah, put the hand there, shift there. And I was like, man, you're an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
Or, like you will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too that's helped me with that I've loved learning or seeing is I start seeing that the kids come in and you find as a coach, you're actually coaching different things. Right. At first when I started, it was like, man, I'm teaching Jiu Jitsu. Right. But you start to find there's these prerequisites for the kids to even learn Jiu Jitsu. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's Jiu Jitsu, but before that, they have to be able to sit and listen. Right. They have to be able to focus, so like you find that they have to be able to be good partners, right? So you find that you're coaching different things with different kids, right? Some kids have all the prerequisites down to where they're ready to learn jiu-jitsu. You're teaching that kid the armbar, right? But you might have another kid who's not there yet. So you're working on focus with that kid, right? So your coaching with him is constantly like, hey, focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing. Right? Because when they get that, then you can teach them the armbar. Right? You have another kid that might be running all over the mat. Your coaching with that kid is, hey, come back and sit down. Come back and sit down. Come back and sit down, right? So you're working discipline with him or her, right? So you'll find like you have these kids that are, you know, coming in, but you're kind of working on different things with different ones.
Right.
And that has actually helped me, I think, be better at the coaching.
Yeah.
Is just recognizing, like, you know, yeah, you want the class to be all lined up and quiet and all of that, right? You want that perfect class, but to have that, you have to work with these different things with the kids and what they need to get to that point.
Each individual has
Each individual
different,
has different, yeah. So that's been interesting to kind of understand.
right.
And that's how, like, now when I come to class, I have more of this mindset of like, okay, you know, what do we need to work on with each one to get closer to that? You
Right.
know? So that's helped a lot. Because before, sometimes it would be like, man, I really want them to be all lined up and quiet, just like I see in the videos when I scroll through my Instagram, you know.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, you have to get them to that point.
Right.
You gotta coach them to that point.
Yeah.
So that's been good too, to
Absolutely.
learn that it's not just jiu-jitsu, it's all these other factors that will also help them in life, in whatever else they decide to do.
Yeah.
So that's been good.
Yeah, you know, speaking about like focus and discipline, and, you know, I might be wrong on this, but I feel like almost all of us have ADD or ADHD, and I feel like it's just a skill, and these kids that are being told that they have these things are just not being taught how to focus.
Yeah.
And I think obviously some kids are going to be more prone to not being able to focus than others. You know, maybe like I'm sure there are little girls and little boys who are keen to being able to focus and understanding.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably relates a lot to their environment. But you know, just like you're saying, it's like, man, it's a skill. It's a skill to be able to focus.
Yeah.
And we're constantly being it's so hard to maintain. Like even for myself, you know, obviously I love jiu-jitsu, so it's easy for me to focus. But you know, if I'm like listening to an Audible book, it's really hard for me to focus. I'll daydream just in and out, and I'm like, man, my focus, I need to, you know, it's like a practice. Like, okay, stay with the words.
You have to practice it. Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm the same way with I'll do a lot more audiobooks because if I read a book, I'm the same way. I'll go in and out.
Right.
And I'll be on the same page because I'm like, I just missed something. Let me start over.
Yep. I do the same thing.
I go out, it's like, crap, I just missed something. Let me start over. Yeah. So I was like, no, I do better with audiobooks.
Right.
But like you said, you have to practice it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so occasionally I will stick with the book. Right. And yes, even though it takes me a while to get through, but eventually when I lock in, then I start to move through the book. But it takes practice. I like the way you put it, that it is something that you can work on and you can learn. Right? It's a skill you can develop. Yeah. Definitely agree with that.
It's just a bad habit with our brains. You know, we're on phones, we're on iPads.
Yeah.
We're always looking for something else to stare at. And so, we pretty much train our brains to not have focus. So of course, when these kids come in, they're just not going to have it.
Yeah.
I saw a meme the other day. It was cracking me up. It was like, you know, kids these days screaming for their iPad in the car. And it's like me when I was in the car staring at imaginary poor guy jumping from obstacle to obstacle. You know, it's like, man, when we were kids, you literally would just stare and you just got to figure it out. You know, think inside your brain.
Yeah, entertain yourself.
Yeah. And so just with technology these days, you know, it's like, man, just to have a device that can just stream you instant entertainment, of course it's going to mess with your ability to focus.
Yeah. Me and my buddy were talking about that the other day, about how all the instant stuff makes you so impulsive. You know, so you're just so used to having it now.
Yep.
And you don't get to practice, I think, patience.
Right.
On certain things, you know, so, and anyways. But just to piggyback on that.
100% right, dude. I worry about myself sometimes, you know, so I'm like trying to do this podcast. I try as much, you know, I put a lot of effort into my social media presence. And one of the things that I like subconsciously am aware of is that I have a constant feed of dopamine coming from my phone. Constantly. Like just anytime the slightest bit of uncomfortableness shows up, I'm fucking boom, new notifications on my Instagram. And instantly I'm at peace. And it's like, man, that is not healthy, you know?
No, it can't be.
Yeah, that
can't be at all.
yeah, imagine, back in the olden days when you had to, literally work for every bit of dopamine,
Yeah.
but now it's like you wake up, hot shower, hot food,
Yeah.
automatically on the phone.
Mhm.
And, it's like, obviously this is a martial arts / warrior podcast, but these things are important for
Yeah.
us to be aware of, or we'll be consumed by them.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You ever heard that? It's funny because a lot of these things that were made were made um, to solve a problem.
Right.
Like um, how would I put it? Like it's like the whole idea of like, yes, it's great to have a house, but like if you think about it in like terms of like, yes, we learned how to build shelter, and that protected us from the elements. But the flip side is that you suck at being outside at the element.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So you get, we create all this instant, Amazon, like right now, Amazon Prime, Amazon yesterday.
What? It ain't got 2-day shipping.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even want it.
But the flip side is you just suck at being patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
I agree.
It's funny how there's that, whenever you solve a problem on one end, like whenever you go right, you don't go left.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever you solve a problem on one end, you run the risk of increasing the issue on the other end.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, yeah, that's applied into so many things. You brought up a house, but it's like the same thing with like a bed. It's like the bed is so soft, so comfortable. It's like if you're not on a bed, you just can't sleep.
No.
I used to be able to sleep anywhere, dude. I could sleep anywhere. Now I got a soft bed, dude. I ain't sleeping on the couch.
Yeah, no.
It ain't happening. Or even it's like sunglasses. Man, you wear sunglasses too much, and then next thing you know, you have to have them to go outside.
Yes.
So it's like all these things are like robbing us of our ability to, adapt. I don't want to be the guy that hates on sunglasses, but it's just like, if you really think about it, I know people that'll go in a straight panic when they don't have their sunglasses. And I've been in that situation, dude. I went to the Grand Canyon and I didn't have my sunglasses. I was like, I literally cannot go through the day without these sunglasses.
Oh, wow. Like you had gotten so used to.
Yeah. Wearing sunglasses every day. I was like, well, I can't even see now.
Yeah.
And Tori, my lady, she listened to a podcast about the sunglasses, and then she's like, yeah, we should quit wearing them. And since then, I haven't worn them.
Yeah.
But dude, before, when I was wearing them, I could not drive unless I had my sunglasses on.
Wow.
Now it's like something that I don't even think about.
It's crazy. Like like I said, it's not, we create something to be more convenient, but the overuse of it skews you heavily to that side. Where the other side now becomes a problem. Like cars are great. Love cars, especially in Houston. Need a car.
Need it.
But the obvious flip side of that is that the more you drive places, the worse you get at walking.
Yeah.
Like you just don't walk anywhere anymore.
Right.
All right. So, whatever part of your body that was going to be well developed when you walked, you're losing that part.
Yeah. I mean, essentially the average person goes from bed to a car, to a chair, back to a car, to a couch, back to bed.
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about, like, we go from, what is it? Phone, right? I'll get done with the phone, TV. Get done with the TV, see what's on the laptop. You just go from screen to screen to screen.
Dang, yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's like this battle, right? Because as martial artists, right, they say that, there's philosophy in being on the mats. And, what that is like, it's a cultivation of the mind and the body. So that's why we are aware of these things, because, we want to bring our best version of ourselves to the mats. And so in order to do that, you have to be mindful of everything that goes on in your day. Yeah. So as you think about these things, this is why they become important. And, starting this podcast, I've got 3 Apple devices. And now I got and now I got a GoPro, and I have a laptop, and I've got a PC, and so trust me, dude, I completely get it. A part of me is like, has this fantasy that one day I'll be living in the woods and in a cabin or something, or living on the road. Yeah. And, but then at the same time is like, I'm the most integrated. Yeah. The most integrated. So it's like, again, 3 different devices. I turn notifications off on one and then the other one starts dinging. And I'm
Yeah.
like, ah.
Yeah.
So, this whole just battle of just like being a part of the new age and then also trying to not be, 100% like sucked into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the human being will constantly always have to just adjust and adapt to something. Right. But I always think that whatever we try to do, right, the goal is going to be the most important, like the direction. Okay. I mean, if you don't care to be, if you don't care, like if you talk about maybe your sunglasses, if you don't care to like not always have that or to not ever be without them, and you don't mind having them all the time, right? If that's your goal, then that's fine, right? Um, if I don't care to get better at reading a book, then the action of opening it doesn't matter,
Right.
right? So I just think, as long as the human being has a goal and they're trying to take actions towards that goal, right? And then I think you are living the best version of yourself, right? Because you're heading towards something that you actually want to head towards,
Yeah.
right? Regardless of the consequences, if you're okay with the consequences of it, right? Um, if we drive all day, um, we get, we get terrible at walking, right? But flip side is that we get to wherever we need to on time,
Right.
right? If you walk all day, you get better at walking, but I'm sure there's other issues. You might not get to work on time or whatever. So as long as you're okay, you have your goals and you're okay with whatever the risks and consequences of that goal are.
Yeah.
I think that is where that person is living. They're closer to living their best life because they're heading towards something that they want to head towards.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as long as they're clear on that, it's
Yeah.
when you're heading one way, but you're desiring a different one. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. You want to be more active, but you sit all day. That's where the conflict happens.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. This might be neither here.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got to be mindful of the sacrifices and where
Like,
is
how do
it that
they
you
play
want to go.
into what kind of life do you actually want to live?
Right.
Yeah. But first you have to be clear on that.
Yep.
You know, I've used this before, but it's like when you come out of your house, I don't know, whatever grocery store has a specific location, has a specific route. Say you want to go to the Kroger, right? You come out of your house, you come out, you make a right on this street, you make a left on this street, make a right on this one, make another left, right? And then that's the Kroger, right? It's a specific route to get there, right? But first you have to identify where you want to go.
Right.
So if it doesn't, God, my friend Joey Carr, I think he said, if it doesn't matter where you're going, then it doesn't matter what you do. Something like, if you don't mind where you're going, then it shouldn't matter what you're doing.
Right.
But if you mind where you're going, then it has a specific route. Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of tell me about like, what it's been like for you being an owner, coaching is one thing.
Yeah.
The owning side is like a whole nother beast. Is there anything that you really sticks out to you as like a learning lesson for you?
On owning,
Being a business owner.
I think what I'm sure there's a lot of things. Maybe nothing directly comes to mind right now, but there's the I think there's the product that you are trying to give people, right? And then there's the business of sustaining that product, right? And like, you have to understand that or what I'm learning is that understanding that the business creates a situation that allows you to continue giving that product and doing what you love, right? And you cannot sort of like let you got to understand that the business of it is separate, right? So the business has to be done well, so that it can support what you love doing and what other people love doing with you, right? So, and I think also getting people around you to understand that hey, this is what we love doing, but it's sustained by this business model, and that's how we keep it going. So I think being in a that's one of the things that I learn more of and adapt to and grow in the more that I'm an owner. And then also understanding that also being an owner, gratitude, right? Like, I'm so grateful to our students, right? I'm so grateful to them sticking with us, treating each other well, creating this environment that's very welcoming. So being an owner, learning how to like show gratitude to your members, or whether it just be verbally or through however kind of promotion you can do. So yeah, so those are a few things amongst many. Finding ways to give back to your members. They're giving you their hard-earned money, right? They're giving you their time, right? Me growing even in the discipline, trying to make sure that whatever product I'm putting out is to the highest capacity that I can, right? For them. So yeah, just stuff like that. I would say. I'm sure there's more stuff that'll come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, I really like what you said about, mastering the business model and how it sustains the product. And I've
Yeah.
definitely experienced gyms where, the product is really good, but the business model is not that great.
Yeah.
Right. Or vice versa, where the business model is great, but the jiu-jitsu is not that
Yeah.
is not that good. The
Mhm.
product.
Mhm.
So yeah, finding that balance, and then everyone loves the product, right? Like that's why this business exists, is because
Yes.
people love jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
And it can be easy to forget that the business model is what keeps it going.
Yes.
It can be easy because obviously, we all know the jiu-jitsu instructor that just wants to be on the mats and, wants to forget about all
Yes.
the business model stuff. But
Yes.
without that, you can't get to do what you love. Without the bills being paid, there is no mats or space for us to roll on.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned how getting people to understand that is like a part of the process, because even you said you're grateful for the students, but it's like, you want people to be mindful, is like, it can't just be about the product.
Yeah.
Because if it is, then we don't have a place, right? It's like, it has to be, just like you said, a balance between the two. Is like, this is what we love, but this is how it has to be put in place so that we can continue to do this.
Continue to do that. Yeah. Well, and I think like, there's communication there, right? So that the owner and the members are in constant communication on like what's working, what's not, right? Because ultimately, for me, that's the relationship I want. I want both parties to get what they want
Right.
out of this situation. I've told a friend of mine, like, and as an owner too, you have to make time for the part of this that kept you going, right? Right. When I started, I stayed with jiu-jitsu because I loved jiu-jitsu. I loved practicing, I love learning, I love rolling. If you only come in as a business owner and you only stick to the business side of it, that's not what kept you going,
Right.
right? That's not what I was doing from the beginning, right? So I've told guys, like, if you go into a business, always make time for the part of that kept you going, that you love the most,
Right.
right? And as long as you can always do that, you will always have that energy,
Yeah.
right? And the people around you will see that energy and they'll see that desire. But if you only do the part of it that's kind of like, that wasn't the part that got you in it in the first place, people will see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will see that too. So always make time for the part of it that you loved and do that, and then share that with your members, right? Um, and I think that keeps you going, right? Understand, okay, yes, this is the business. That's what sustains all of this, right? But this product, this passion, right, is really what I'm trying to get out, for people,
Yeah. Yes, I really liked what you said about the communication.
Yeah.
Man, I've been a part of a gym that failed. I've been a part of a really amazing gym that I ended up having to leave because I wanted more out of jiu-jitsu. And in both those aspects, the first gym that ended up closing, my personal opinion, I felt like the product was amazing. The jiu-jitsu was amazing. I felt like we had the best jiu-jitsu in probably the whole state. But the business side was not that great. And there was no communication. And so I feel like, you as a business owner, you might get the idea that, it's like, oh, jiu-jitsu and the students, that's for them, but the business is just for me. But I really do feel like that when the students understand the business, it gives them a sense of ease. Like, I can know that what's going on, like everything is working and that this place will be around, because what I noticed is that when people started to sense that the business might close or that it's not making enough money, everyone feels stressed about it.
Yes.
So even though as an owner, you might not feel like that is for them, it is. Because everyone wants to be a part of it, or everyone wants the place to continue to be able to train at. And if they like are low key getting a sense that it might not be around, everyone will start to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
And one of the things I experienced at this other gym, so when my gym closed, it was so funny, man, because the gym I went to after, they were our rival gym, right? And I'd always heard stories about them, and not good stories. People always talking smack, but man, the dude who ran it, his name's leaving me, but man, he was so nice, and he took us in. He took us all in, and he didn't have to. He could have been like,
he could have,
been like, nah, I don't need you, or just charged me money. He could have just been like, yeah, well, 200 for you to train here. But he brought me and Tori in, gave us a place to teach, charged us nothing to train. He was just like, teach my beginners classes, and then brought her on as a personal trainer. And he was really open about the business model. He would just say that, like, if people brought things to him, because he had a huge gym. It was like a CrossFit and a jiu-jitsu gym. But, and he would just like open up about it and like ideas and stuff. And one of the things he'd tell me is like, people always want to tell me that I should do this or do that. But I always ask him, he'd ask him where they got the idea from, and like, oh, well, my gym did this. And he'd go, well, is that gym still open?
Yeah.
And it's just like, the way that I do this is so that we can remain open. And because he mastered like the business side of it, man, it was just a great place to be. He cultivated a place where people just enjoy training, and you knew it was going to be around. So it was like that calmness of just like, man, this place is awesome. So it was just that contrast. So maybe like, we didn't have as many killers on the mats, which I guess they probably do now because he absorbed all the guys from the other gym. But I really just experienced firsthand of like, why you have to be dialed in on the business model, because, if you're not and the gym fails, you're literally going to let everyone down.
Yes. Yeah. And it's what's interesting about that too, that a good point that you brought up is that when you are doing something that you love and they love, they want it to work as well, right? So they'll be like locked into helping out, right? I remember, like, I've gone to some like open mats or some gyms, and they'll be like, oh, you don't need to no need to pay or something like that. And, and I would be like, because I've experienced people say it to me, and that's where I started saying it. I was like, yeah, I know I don't have to, but I love this place so much. I appreciate you as a training partner that I want to support.
Yep.
I want to give.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the best, is like when you get a place where people they
Yeah.
want it to succeed. Right. Yeah. And that's definitely what
It's always cool meeting
for.
It's always cool meeting those people who come in and train, and then you're like, nah, dude, just thanks for coming by. And they're like, dude, let me buy a shirt.
Yeah,
let
they're
me
like,
get
please
something.
let me do something to help out.
Yeah.
Right. Even though you don't need it. Yeah, you may not need it, but it's just, I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always cool.
That's always good.
Yeah, man. So one last thing I really wanted to talk to you about too was the competing aspect. So one, the rumor around the water cooler is that you train, that you roll pretty much every day. And I know that there's some validity to that because you killed it at the ADCC Open in Dallas and took a gold medal for the Masters, which is no joke. I mean, obviously the Masters division, you're not going to have to deal with the crazy young bucks, but you're dealing with, master black belts and brown belts who've been in the game a long time. So I'm really interested to kind of talk to you about like how you're staying in the game as a coach, as a business owner, and you're still able to get out there and compete.
So in terms of staying competing, right? I love competing. The older I've gotten, as you'll hear most older guys talk about, it really is around taking care of your body. I tell a lot of people lately, I do not miss a stretch session in the morning. Like I don't miss it. That's the other thing that has actually been big for me, is learning how to prioritize, being better at decision making, which I'm still improving on, but definitely learning how to prioritize. And I've been prioritizing self-care, especially around my stretching and mobility, because my body is a big tool for what I use to do my work and compete. Right. So taking the time to make sure that this is in the best possible shape it can be means that I can keep teaching, I can keep training, I can keep competing, and I can be whatever the best version of that may look like every time I step on the mat, or every time I leave the house to go do what I do. So self-care has been huge for me, and that's definitely what. And then also, like, as far as training every day, is managing what the training load is like, right? So I'm big on paying attention to myself, paying attention to my body, and understanding like, okay, today will be a hard day or it will be a light day. And then also, like I said, managing training load, picking your training partners wisely. And all that ties into me being able to compete, right? Aside from having the desire, that taking care of myself is huge. Huge. Resting when you need to, right? Doing whatever you can with nutrition to help out with that. So that's big. That's big for me on those. Yeah, the Masters division, it's not the young bucks, but we do our best.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to get in that division. I'm 32.
We got monsters in that division, man. We got monsters in the Masters division.
No, I know. And either way, it's a beast, right? No matter which division you're in, it's a beast.
Yeah.
But no, you're convincing me on this stretching thing, man. One, it motivated me when I heard that you're rolling every day. I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna quit being a punk. I'm gonna start rolling every day too. Because now that I've started teaching Monday through Thursday, at night, I train really hard on the weekends. I hit all the open mats. Make sure I hit classes on Friday.
Yep.
And open mats are rough. It's like 2 hours straight of
Yeah.
rolling. And then I'll do dark side morning classes. And, but, as my body gets beat up, I'll like usually just be like, I'm going to try not to roll today, and
Mhm.
just like do technique. But hearing that you were rolling with your students every day, I'm like, you know what? I can roll with my students every day. And, yeah, just that piece about how you don't miss your stretching sessions. And then you hear about David Goggins stretches every night for 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, and I realize now it's like, man, I gotta prioritize a stretch session.
Yeah, I think that amongst other things will help. But I think just being a good decision maker, right? Like I said, I monitor what the training load is going to be like. If I've had a hard session the day before, and I get like a 290-pound guy come in, right? That might not be my training session for that day, right? I might go pick someone who's lighter. But I tell people it's like being in the gym, right? Excuse me, it's hard to do. I think it's hard to just do consecutive heavy.
Right.
Right. You gotta go up, down, up, down, up, down. Give your body time and your nervous system time to recover.
Right.
Right. So that you can do another hard session. Right. So monitoring your training load, I think you can definitely train every day, but its intensity and duration have to be managed. So that's what I do, and that's what keeps me going. Right? It's not the 100%. Not every session is at max capacity. Right? I don't think that's possible. And then your 100% is different on different days, depending on how you slept that day, depending on what you ate, depending on maybe whatever stresses you came across that day. Right? Your effort level will differ. Right? So as long as your goal, I think one mental goal is just try to improve.
Right.
Right? You're just seeking out improvement to whatever degree you can get it that day. Or you're seeking, if you're a coach, you're seeking the improvement of your students to whatever degree you can get it that day.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. But definitely don't fall for maybe some people are, but don't fall for the what I think is a lie of like, yeah, it's max capacity every day, twice a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. No, I don't think that's
right.
I don't think so. I think it's up and down.
Right.
But heading for improvement over time.
Yeah. So, man, this conversation flew by. I checked the time earlier and it was already at 50 minutes. And I was like, it felt like we were talking about for 25, 30 minutes. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I really appreciate the time that you have given me. But I want to end with just 2 questions. So 2 different aspects of the journey. So first question is what piece of advice would you give someone who isn't training jiu-jitsu and is maybe looking to start?
What piece of advice would I give for someone who's not training jiu-jitsu and looking to start?
Or a beginner, just someone in the beginning of their journey.
I would if they're looking to start, I would, just obviously find a gym, start training, be patient. Be patient with it. Just like any discipline or any art that you pick up, you're going to have to invest time.
Yes.
In it. So be patient with it. Expect to suck at it a lot in the beginning, right? And over time you'll suck less. People laugh at that, but that's how I view myself. It's like, hey, every time I'm walking, I'm just trying to suck less than I did yesterday.
Yep.
Right. So be patient with it. Sometimes I view it like I'll use like this jump shot analogy, right? If you pick up shooting a basketball today, right? You shoot 100 shots, right? If you just started today, you're probably gonna miss 95, right? You might make 5. over time, right, you're going to miss less, right?
Still gonna miss a lot.
Yeah, you're going to miss a lot, but you'll miss less,
Less,
right?
yes.
But over time, you'll miss less.
Right.
Eventually, you'll get to a point where you're like, maybe you make 50, you miss 50. That's huge improvement from when you started, where you were missing 90, 95 and only making 5.
Right.
You stay with it long enough, eventually you'll make 60, miss 40, right? And you keep making the right adjustments, time, you might get to the point where you're making 90 and missing 10. But you still have to go through the process of missing that much, making adjustments, learning, improving, stuff like that, to reduce that number until you're on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's with anything you pick up, right? There is a time to learn. So with people who are looking to start jiu-jitsu, I think it's a great art to start, but be patient with it.
Yeah.
Learn how to pick your training partners, right? Your goal is not you versus that guy, it's you versus yourself.
Right.
Train as much with your upper belts. And how you train is a big deal, right? Manage your energy. Try not to be reckless. Take care of your training partners. Your training partner will take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said about time. I'm listening to a book right now called Mastery by Robert Greene. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Oh, you have?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But he says the same thing. He said that people think that genius is something that we're just innate with, that it just comes to us. But he said, actually, it's the progression of the skill over time. He said, through time, you'll come into that mastery level or that genius or that spark where, everything just makes sense. But he said, just in today's world, everything is so instant, how he brought up earlier, that people, he talks about how like there's always been this idea of like finding the philosopher's stone or this like trick that makes everything easier, like manifesting or magic. And he said that's been in the subconscious of humans for all time. Yeah. He's like, but what everyone misses is that the genius, the magic, the mastery comes through with applied focus over time.
Over time.
And he was saying that applied focus over time is what made humans different from every other animal. Yeah. He said that animals can only focus on the now. And he said that people will say that's a blessing, right? Because they can focus, they are always in the present moment. But the human's ability to enter deep focus and think for long periods of time and think outside of right now, yes, is what made us different. It's like our ability to like stare at something for a very long period. He said that the original humans learned that if they stared at something long enough, they would enter like almost a trance state and like pick up more details than if they just scanned. And the animals mostly just scan. And that early humans figured out that that if we took the time to stare and to like really enter a deep focus state, that we could plan and come up with ideas and work together and hunt and do all these things. And so he was just the whole point that he was trying to get across is that like deep focus over time is the key to mastery. Yes. And that's essentially what you just said. Yeah. So man, it's just, I literally was listening to it on my way here. So it's super trippy that you said that. But yeah, man. So
I definitely agree with that. Like,
right?
Over time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we just talked about like this whole idea of being so impulsive in today's day and age. Right. Right. So people don't put enough time. Or you walk in to a class, you do it for a month, 2 months, like, man, I'm not getting any better. It's like, dude, 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months.
That's nothing.
And what? You've been training maybe 3 times a week?
Yep.
Right? Give it time.
Yep.
Give it time.
Yeah. Same thing in like lifting, right? So
yeah.
Everyone puts themselves in like these 6-month blocks or 12-week blocks. And it's like, dude, how could you possibly change your whole anatomy in 6 months?
Well, so I'll always like use these numbers, right? Like it's like, hey, 24 hours in a day. I forget what is it? Is it 168 hours in a week? Was that the math on that? I forget.
I have no idea.
Whatever the hours are in a week, right? But someone might want to make some physical changes through working out, right? Let's say there are over 100 hours in a week, right? And if you're working out, right? The other thing is like how much frequency, right? Frequency of your training, right? Like if you work out twice a week, right? 2 hours out of 100+ hours in a week, right? Now stretch that over 4 months. How effective does that really become for you?
Right.
Right? No, like, like, so, if you're going to get better at something, right? Focus over time, right? But like, even like intentional focus over time, right? Dedicated focus over time,
Right.
right? You'll get better results the more of that you put in, right? So when I was a personal trainer, I would always talk about those numbers. Is like, if you're just going to do 2 hours out of the week, how do you think you're going to hit that goal?
Mhm.
Right? That's 2 hours out of 100+ hours in a week. Right? You're heavily on the side that's not going to hit you. That's not going to get you to your goals. Right? You need to work out maybe 3, 4, 5, right? Times a week to really get your body to this point where it's trying to change.
Yep.
So
Yeah, man. So I love your answer, dude. Now, I'll get you with one more,
yeah.
and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
But what would your advice be to someone who's further along in their journey? So now they're brown belt, maybe they're a black belt, and they're looking to transfer from being a student into the coaching side. What piece of advice, or maybe what are you currently experiencing that you think would help them make that transition? Because for me, it's been a huge transition. I went from being a part of a class every single day to then running a class every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that cracks me up is when I first started, I always thought that like students wanted to give their opinion on like what they should learn. Like for me anyway, I was like, man, I wish coaches cared about what I wanted to learn,
Mm-hmm.
And then as becoming a coach, and I'll ask students like, hey, is there anything you want to work on? They're kind of just like, whatever you got, like
Yeah.
I need to work on everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it's been like, man, I really have to take the time to like really know what I want to teach every single day.
Yeah.
And because again, when I was coming up, I was like, man, if someone asked me what I want to teach, I'd be like, ooh, okay, let's learn this. But not everyone is like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think so. If I had to speak from my experience, and I had to give advice from my experience, I would say try your best to listen, and not just like verbally, but, maybe listening also in terms of like paying attention. What does the student need? What are they struggling with? What can you help them with? And then, also it's like verbal, having a communication, like, hey, here's what I think you need to work on, or what do you feel like, or the person comes to ask you, hey, I'm struggling with this, or what do I need to work on? Right. So there's always paying attention, right? I think as a coach, trying your best to keep yourself up to date with all the stuff that's coming out. Um, it's hard to be an expert in everything that comes out, right? Obviously, we need time for the new move that's coming out. But I think it's wrong whenever someone just kind of like does this, like, oh, there's that new move out. It's like, oh, what is it? That would never. It's like, no, don't be. I don't think you should be ignorant like that.
Right.
You should give some time and thought to stuff that comes out. Right, keep yourself up to date.
Right.
Right, it's like, you don't allow yourself to be outdated.
Yep.
Yes, your stuff is valuable, but don't also think because it's new, it's not valuable.
Right.
Right. So, keeping yourself up to date, paying attention, being patient as a coach is huge. Remember to be patient. You are going to repeat a bunch of moves over and over again. You're going to tell that person what you told them 2 days ago, and be ready to tell them in 4 days the same thing. So be patient.
Yeah.
People are on their own journey of their growth and their development. And, remember that you are like, you're coaching, right? You're trying to help them, you're trying to guide them, and that's what you are, right? So you're coaching them. You're not doing the journey for them.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, those things. And I think try to have a direction that fuels your actions. So if my direction is that everybody who walks in gets better at this, as long as I keep that as a goal every time, it fuels every action I take, trickles down from that goal, right? So when someone's laying on the mat, or they're doing a move wrong, right? It's like, hey, everyone who walks in here, I have a desire that they get better at this. That's what will try to pick me off the bench and be like, okay, so here's what you're doing wrong. So have that goal in mind. And that, I think it'll fuel your actions even in your most tired moments.
Yeah.
That would help. So that would be my advice from my experience.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dude, the piece on being patient. What'll also happen too is they'll be like, they'll ask you about something, they'll be like, oh, what about this? And then you'll be like, well, I already showed you.
Yeah, I know.
I've been telling you that.
Yeah, I've been telling you that. And for some people, it's like, so I'll tell them like, hey, don't do this, this, and this, or do this, this, and this, right? And like, oh, okay, and then it flies out, right? And then I see them doing it, and I'm like, all right, and then you kind of see it mess up, and you see it, because there's also a part of you that's patient through like sitting back, right? And allowing someone to miss a couple of jump shots, right? Let them mess it up a bit. Because sometimes it's then that they come back and it's like, okay, this is really not working. It's like, yeah, well, you didn't grab the pinky toe like I told you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, that's why. So sometimes it hits harder when you allow the person to go out, mess it up a bit, and then come back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely different ways of being patient.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Nonso, I really appreciate you coming on, dude.
Man,
It's been
thank you.
Awesome conversation. It's so funny, asking people to come on podcasts. A lot of them are like, oh, what are we going to talk about? And it's like that whole thing of like, dude, trust me, it'll all come out. It'll be really easy. And this conversation was really easy, dude. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I mean, I think you do a great job asking questions. You do a great job of making the person feel comfortable. And like, the questions you ask too, and then the time you give them to respond. Right? I think that's huge. So you play a big part in making that person, at least making me feel comfortable to talk. Because when you asked me, I had the exact same questions. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about.
Well, I appreciate you just saying yes. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, dude. They kind of get like super iffy, but you were just like, let's do it. And I was like, awesome.
Feel free to edit 90% of this if you need to, because I'm sure some of it was like completely off topic.
No, man, I think we did a great job. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.